My name is Kelly, and I am 62 years old. I live alone in an apartment in Irvine. My mother divorced shortly after I was born, so I grew up in a single-mother family. Fortunately, after the divorce, my father provided me with adequate support and cared for me until I entered college. Following that, I joined a reasonably well-known company, and we had an arranged marriage thanks to an introduction from my boss. My son was born soon after, and we were enjoying our days together. But my husband died suddenly because of illness shortly after my son began working. My son's name is Mike. He was an honest child who cared for me as a child, but his personality began to change when he entered college. His selfishness worsened after my husband died, and he would say things like, "I'm on my own now, so leave me alone." I'd say he's become more dependable, but I'm wondering if it's because I'm getting older that I'm feeling a little lonely. My son is marrying the daughter of one of his client's presidents, whom he met through a business acquaintance. Her family seems to be a rich family, and they look down on my son, who comes from a single-mother family, at first. But her father said, "Talking about family background nowadays is an anachronism. That is fine if you both agree." When I first visited her parents' home for the wedding ceremony, I was astounded by its size and magnificence. I then gave my son the house I was living in and moved into a new apartment that I purchased with my husband's inheritance. It is in Irvine, but I like the peace and quiet of the suburbs. My son's wife had the temperament of a wealthy daughter from an old rich family. She seemed to look down on me, a divorced woman living in a small urban apartment. She seemed to think I was a poor person on a pension. "I don't mean to be rude to you, but may I ask you a question?" "Yes, what is it?" "I'm afraid you have financial problems." "Thank you for your concern, but I've been able to make a decent living." "My family is well known, and my father is the president of a well-known furniture manufacturer. He's the CEO. Do you get what I'm saying?" She boasted about her family as if it was normal to do so. "So, do you believe you'll be able to obtain financial assistance?" "What do you mean?" "Let me tell you frankly. I don't want our money going toward your living expenses." She believes I am a poor woman who will be a burden on her family. "Oh, I never thought about it." "Perhaps not now, but you will, won't you?" I was wondering what kind of education she got. "Oh, well, thank you very much for your generosity, but you don't have to worry about that." "Keep that in mind." She then walked away from me. Her reaction was unusual, and I could tell how bad her personality is. Then, sometime later, my son and his wife visited me. I made a lot of homemade dishes to keep them entertained since my son returned after a while. My mother was from the Anaheim region, so I made light-flavored dishes. I made a vegetable stew and boiled some fish. She is from the Palm Springs region, so she thought they were too bland and didn't taste good. "It's a pretty bad dish. Is there more meat or something?" "I'm sorry. I grew up near the sea, so I know how to cook fish but not meat." "You had a very poor diet, didn't you?" she said, dismissing my modesty. But I wasn't impoverished. I barely got back at her. "I'm not sure how you define poor, but we weren't poor." My son, who was standing nearby, unusually took my side. "But it looks poor because there are only vegetables and fish. This vegetable soup was made from instant tofu and dried seaweed." Her arrogance was unending. "I don't make ready-made meals. I make it by myself." I was so enraged that I retorted angrily. "But, Mom, her family's meat dishes are excellent. Palm Springs has many brands of elite beef, and I'm now a big fan of it." I didn't understand what my son was thinking. He reversed his earlier opinion and followed up with his own wife. Her family, by the way, is living in a well-known area in Palm Springs for its elite beef. "Please cut the elite local beef. It's easy to cut with chopsticks and melts in your mouth." "Ah, I apologize. You usually eat the best one. It's quite expensive, so it's not for you." She giggled as she put her hand over her mouth. I couldn't help but laugh at her. One day, when I had almost forgotten about such things, I was invited to Anna's parents' home. Because it was the end of summer, and there were few tourists, I was asked if I wanted to come. It was my son's idea this time. I accepted the invitation because I had no plans and had not had the opportunity to visit Palm Springs. Despite the fact that it was an invitation, I brought some sweets from a long-established Irvine shop as a gift. Don't worry about it. I get tired of eating so much, but since I'm here, I'll receive it. Anna's sarcasm irritated me, but this is my in-laws' home. Except for me, everyone was an enemy. My in-laws' house was as beautiful as ever. They had renovated the garden and created a pond in which the carp swam gracefully. The carp cost approximately $10 million. They are few in number, but I chose quality over quantity. I counseled them. His wife looked overjoyed. I was reminded of how much she shows off things. My son and his wife invited me to a luxury hot spring hotel nearby. I enjoyed their magnificent hot spring facilities, as well as the pride and joy of fine Kobe beef. I think I would have enjoyed it even more if there were none of her usual sarcastic comments. Then there was the time when we went to my in-laws' house to say thank you and goodbye, and we were all drinking tea together. Thank you very much for your assistance this time. I was able to enjoy hot spring and delicious food because of you. My thank you speech changed into a terrible situation. There's no need to thank me for that. His wife seemed to be preparing for a battle. My son has been blessed with a wonderful family, and as his mother, I am grateful. Thank you very much. I said something that I had no intention of saying. My main concern is for you. I was concerned when I saw your house. Do you live with your pension? That should be enough for a normal life. But won't it eventually run out and force you to come to my parents' house for assistance? I'd appreciate it if you could refrain. I've never considered it. No, it could happen anytime soon, could it? So I'd better get it figured out while I still could. She got in the main talk. Can you sort this out? What do you mean? I'm not even a monster. I invited you here to have one last good time with your son. Did you like it? Yes, it was enjoyable. That makes me happy. So I'm going to cut off a relationship with you once and for all. What? What do you mean? We would be greatly inconvenienced if you became a beggar, so we would prefer that you became a stranger. Beggar? Stranger? I repeated her words because I didn't understand what she meant. That's why I'm asking you to abandon us now. Do you get what I'm saying? I was enraged by her condescending attitude, but I managed to keep it under control. I realized what you meant. If you wish that, I will do so. She was relieved by my understanding response. Don't worry, I've already prepared the bus fare for your return trip. Bye then. She continued sarcastically until the end. Anyway, I just want to thank you for what you did this time. Thank you a lot. I returned to Irvine after leaving those dismissive words. I was furious at what my son and his wife had done to me, but I didn't take any action. Then, in an attempt to de-stress, I traveled to Beverly Hills, a city I adore. I've stopped sending money to my son for good since then. I had been giving him some of the dividends from my father's stock as pocket money, but I had no choice but to stop when he told me he was going to distance himself from me. My son begged me to keep giving him money, but I refused, saying that I would no longer support him because we broke off our relationship. Apparently, he doesn't inform his wife that I have sent him money. Anna was holding his wallet, and apparently, he was spending money from me on anime merchandise. When they got married, Anna threw all of his prized possessions away, and then he gradually began collecting them again. Then, I heard that Anna's father had passed out. Fortunately, he survived, but due to his stroke, he was unable to continue his work. And my son and his wife have assumed the roles of family governor and president. My daughter-in-law's family is quite wealthy, but the company's management was aggressive and unpopular. Since my son and his wife took over the company's management has been plagued. Clients were dissatisfied with the way the company has been run and have stopped doing business with them. I would normally have gone to see him because he was my daughter-in-law's father, but because I had been cut off from them, I did not. Anna has a similar personality to her father, so she will probably most likely conduct herself in the same way. However, She does not appear to have much business acumen, in my opinion. I was concerned about her future because she is selfish and looks down on others. The company's sales have fallen as expected, and the new business she started has failed to materialize, leaving them with nothing but more debt. Sales of high-end furniture, the company's mainstay, remained slow, and it was clear that the company as a whole would lose money in the future. I was concerned, but I decided to wait and see what happened. The company then conducted a major reorganization in which the entire board of directors was replaced. My son, who became the new president, called for the main business to be downsized and new divisions to be established. I'm not sure about the specifics, but it seems that the decision was made by Anna, who is the company's largest shareholder. My son is a representative director, but he seems to have gone unnoticed. It was definitely her way of doing things. However, this was a big failure. Sales in the main business operations plummeted, and the new division performed far below expectations. The stock price dropped significantly as the company's performance deteriorated, and the company's survival became doubtful as more and more employees who had given up on the company began to resign. I had been watching the stock price, but it kept falling. Dividends were no longer paid, and the quarterly reports and stock firms' general comments were depressing. The company may be delisted soon. If the stock is delisted, it will be impossible to buy and sell shares on the market, and raising funds will be extremely difficult. Banks are unlikely to extend loans, so the only option is for them to liquidate their holdings. Her parents own a number of local forests and other properties, but they are not expected to be worth much because they are in a rural area. Still, at the end of the day, they had no choice but to sell them. I can't be bothered because I'm cut off from them. I carried on with my life in the same as before. My son and his wife then contacted me several times for some reason, but I ignored them because I didn't need them. Then there was the time I was on my annual sightseeing tour of Beverly Hills, admiring the autumn leaves. The mushrooms this year were smaller, possibly due to the weather, but the flavor was richer and the taste was excellent. It soothed my heart when combined with the colorful scenery of the autumn leaves outside. While I was enjoying Beverly Hills' autumn scenery and food, I received a call from one of the staff members. "There's a visitor here to see you." Huh? I don't have an appointment, and only a few people know I'm in Beverly Hills. What is the visitor's name? Yes, Smith. Her name is Anna Smith. Smith? I paused for a moment, but it hit me right away. I know her, but we're taking a break from each other for some reason. Please ask her to leave. Yes. She is very eager to see you. She even got down on her knees. How should I deal with this? Well, there's nothing I can do. Send her to the guest room, please. I'll return once I've finished getting ready. I returned to my room and changed into something more appropriate. It's been a long time. I understand your family, and I have been cutting off our relationship. What made you come here? I had no idea you came this far. I greeted her calmly. It's been a long time. Thank you so much for forgiving me for all the disrespect I've shown you in the past. What is this? I'm not forgiving you. I only came to see you on a whim. Misunderstandings would make you difficult to think. No. My words were too strong. I apologize. Her face is flushed from the nervousness and my cold attitude. I've heard that you own this mansion. Can you tell me how you got this? She should have heard something about my true identity somewhere. It was clear to me that she had come to me because she was desperate for money. That's none of your business, I said as I smiled and dismissed her. This is my father's villa. It was given to me by my father, I said after a brief pause. I made the decision to speak clearly. Oh, who is your father? John Scott. He's deceased, but don't you know him? What? Oh, the previous president of Scott Trading. Does that mean you're the former president's daughter? This new revelation has made her shocked. Let me explain this in detail. I am his daughter of his ex-wife, and I use my mother's surname. My half-brother is the current president of the company. My mother has already died, and I've been taking distance myself from the Scott family. Because my personality is not suited to business, I delegated company management to my younger brother. I wanted to live quietly for the rest of my life, so I received a portion of the company's shares as an advancement from my father and got this house. I see. She seemed she understood. Let me tell you about my current financial situation. As an inexperienced stockbroker, I do not buy or sell stocks, but I do receive dividends twice a year. Dividends are paid to me twice a year, which covers my expenses. To begin with, I don't want to live a fancy life. This house is managed by my brother. He has a maid stationed in the house, so I can use her at any time. She was almost speechless. Why are you here, by the way? I just wanted to double check that I'm properly abandoned, am I right? Yes. As you are aware, our family business is struggling, and I was hoping you would be willing to assist us. She begged desperately. What's the point of this? I asked with my plain expression. When my father became ill, my husband took over as president, but he was inexperienced. As a relative, I thought it would be better if I took charge, so I assisted him in various ways. Do you mean that my son was merely an ornament for you to wield real power? That's exactly what I'm saying. At this point, she must have concluded that her bizarre evasions were futile. Her explanation was accurate, though. What happened next? The product mix change that I had initiated had failed, and we were saddled with massive losses and debt, and I did everything I could to help. So you're saying you've turned to me? That's correct. I let out a sigh. Do you want me to assist you with that? Yes. I'd be delighted to assist. Do you remember what you told me? You will isolate me from your family because I'm a nuisance to you if I beg. What exactly are you saying and doing now that you said it would be a bother if I begged? Oh, it's for money. That is known as begging in this world. You are correct. Right? I told her with a smile. I will decline. I don't want you to dismiss me. You've treated me so poorly, and now you want me to assist you. I apologize. I'm sorry, but I need... She bends her knees and rubs her chin against the floor. I didn't pay attention to her and said, I am not a person who is capable of giving alms to a beggar. Please leave. Please. The bank will no longer lend to me, and I have nowhere to rely. She kept getting down on her knees, and she didn't care that the hem of her dress was a mess. Please leave. I sincerely wish you the best. The visitor is leaving. Send her to the entrance. And for the last time, sprinkle some salt on them, I told her and my maid. The 4 maids dragged her out of the room, standing her up and holding her from both sides as she remained on her knees and refused to move. I went back to my room, returned my gaze to the blazing autumn leaves, and softly murmured, I just want to live in peace. Later, I knew that her company had gone bankrupt. She gave up her land and house to settle down, and with the little money she had left, she rented a small, rented house. And they spent days working part-time. I'm still living in an apartment in Irvine. When my son married and moved out, he bought a cat for me because he knew I'd be lonely. He is Dime, a Maine Coon. He is a long-haired cat, so he is difficult to care for, but he enjoys being brushed and is always quiet. Seeing his comfortable face makes me happy as well. I'd like to go to Beverly Hills. Why don't we go in the winter like we always go in the fall? It's too hot for you in the summer. He began biting my hand sweetly while I was petting him. Hey! He licks the spot on my hand, where he bit me as if he apologized. You're so cute. Time had already won my heart. Then I returned to Beverly Hills. Outside, it was snowing. Dime is in my arms, staring out the window with me. You were only the size of my palm when you first arrived at my house, but you've grown so much. I thought he was quiet, but Dime fallen asleep before I noticed. It's true what they say about a sleeping child growing up. But if you grow any larger, I won't be able to hold you. I looked out once more, brushing the tip of Dime's nose as he slept. It had been a quiet, snowy night. I was nodding off as well. I was wondering if there would be a lovely snowy landscape tomorrow morning. I went to bed thinking about this. Dime is also sleeping next to me. As I closed my eyes, I told myself that I was going to have a good dream. I closed my eyes and thought,